Hello and welcome back to the Barrett channel. Today I'm going to be jumping straight into talking about the H1N1 pandemic, one of the most recent, deadliest pandemics of our generation, which happened in 2009, which originated in the USA. So I'm going to be diving into that topic a little bit and giving you sort of a timeline of the events that took place during that pandemic. I'm not going to be doing any sort of comparisons to the current situation here in China. I'm going to end off with a comment that I've written down and sort of let you think about it for yourselves. So bear with me, there are going to be a lot of dates. This is going to be quite data heavy. If you do see me looking at my phone a couple of times, it's because I don't want to be spreading any misinformation. I have got it all down here on my phone, so I'll try my best, but occasionally you might see me looking at it, and that'll be why. So H1N1, also known as swine flu, influenza type A. This originated in the USA, as I just said, and the first case was actually detected on April the 15th, 2009 in a 10-year-old patient in California. It was evident to experts at the time that this is a brand new virus never seen before in humans. 2 days later, on April the 17th, another infected patient was found, but they actually were 130 miles apart, and there was no known previous connection between the two people. 6 days after the first case was detected, we're now on April 21st, the CDC publicly announced the H1N1 infections and they started to develop a vaccine. April the 23rd, 2 more cases were found in Texas, making this now a multi-state outbreak. April 24th, the CDC uploaded the gene sequences to a publicly accessible influenza international database so that everyone can sort of look and work on maybe developing a vaccine or something. On April the 25th, the WHO declared a public emergency of international concern. This is also the day that the first school closure happened in the USA. The following day, the US government then proceeded to issue a statement saying that this is a national and international health concern also. On April the 27th, the WHO raised the pandemic alert from level 3 to level 4, and that was because new data showed person-to-person transmission. The European Union on this day also issued a statement saying that no European citizens should be traveling to the US or Mexico without necessity. On this day as well, the virus actually appeared in 4 different countries, which was the UK, Canada, Mexico and Spain. April the 28th, the CDC recommended a 7-day school and child facilities closure, as well as the case did appear in 2 more countries. April 29th, that marks 2 weeks after the first case was detected, the WHO raised the level of pandemic from alert 4 to alert 5, signalling that a pandemic was imminent, and all countries should be on high alert and getting their pandemic processes in place now, because this is spreading, internationally. On this day as well, cases popped up in 3 more countries, as well as the following day on April 30th, it spread to 3 more countries again, raising the total to 13 countries in just 2 weeks. So coming into May, on May the 1st, the CDC started shipping testing kits for the virus nationwide and globally. They also recommended, once again, if there are any infected people within the community, that all the schools should be closed. On May the 2nd, there's now more than 430 closures of schools in 18 different states. On May the 4th, that brought a massive spike in cases, similar to what happened here. The CDC changed from reporting just confirmed cases to adding the confirmed and the probable cases together. So May the 5th brought the peak school dismissal day. 3 weeks after the first case was detected, 980 schools were closed across the United States. May the 7th is when you're seeing the virus start to take effect in South America, as the first cases popped up in Brazil and Argentina. May the 9th brought the first death from this virus, which was actually surprisingly in Costa Rica, not where the virus originated. May the 10th, China sees its first confirmed case. So May the 12th, the WHO reported that there are now 5,251 cases of H1N1 across 30 different countries. June the 2nd, you're actually now seeing the virus start to spread amongst Africa, which ultimately had a devastating effect. June 11th, so we're almost 2 months after this started, the WHO raised their pandemic alert level from level 5 to level 6, and the CDC also hosted a press conference with lots of important people around the world. There were over 2,000 participants. June the 12th, there are now more than 29,000 cases across 74 different countries. June the 19th, every single state in the USA has now got reported cases. So we're into July now, and in early July, reported cases has nearly doubled since mid-June. 3 H1N1 influenza viruses that were resistant to the antiviral drug oseltamivir, I'm probably butchering the name of that, but you get the point, were detected in 3 different countries. So people were starting to be resistant to the antiviral drug. July 6th, the WHO has now reported 429 deaths from H1N1 swine flu. July 22nd is when clinical trials are actually started for the vaccine. On July 26th, the UK Health Secretary Andy Burnham actually issued a statement saying that the NHS is actually next to breaking point. You know, there were so many people coming in suspected of having the illness that they just could not cope. Come late July, this is about 3.5 months after it started now, most countries are starting to see a decline in cases. So not too much was done around this time. The WHO now ceases tracking of cumulative individual cases. In August, the CDC school dismissal monitoring program started. August 20th saw the start of the second wave of H1N1 starting to take place in the United States. So September 6th, the WHO now reports at least 3,205 deaths worldwide. Hallelujah, the FDA have now actually approved the vaccine. So that's 5 months after the first case was detected. There's now a vaccine created. September 21st, this is one for you Chinese viewers out there. Time for you to be proud. Even though the first case was originated in the US, China were the first people to develop a vaccine. And then the US government decided to order 251 million doses, as well as, the rest of the world ordering a ridiculous amount. It must be unfathomable how many they need to produce at such a rate when it's something that's, trying to stop a pandemic. The whole world needs them. There's 7 billion people. It's hard to get your head around how many doses are needed to be made in a quick time. This is when vaccination campaigns start taking place, worldwide. October 21st is when it started in the UK. They wanted to vaccinate 51 million Britons by Christmas, so that's 2 months. I actually remember this time as I have asthma, and they were sort of putting the people at the front who had, pre-existing medical conditions, especially breathing conditions such as asthma. And August 10th, finally, that's 1 year and 4 months after the pandemic started, is when the WHO declared that a pandemic is finished, which is brilliant news. So that comes to the end of my timeline. I got all of my resources, all of my information from the CDC and the Wikipedia websites, which are extremely respected organizations. But if you do want to fact check me, of course, if I missed anything, I'm only a human being, so that's obviously possible. Write it down in the comments if you notice anything. But that's where I got all of my information from. Now I just want to finish with a statement, as I mentioned at the start. I actually wrote this one down because I want to get across exactly how I feel about it, what I mean, and I want to say what I mean and mean what I say. So I'm going to be reading this from my phone because I want to get my message across. So something that I've just realised I forgot to mention here, that so from all of what I've said, that's the timeline, right? You tell me how many precautions you saw made by the government to stop the spread of H1N1. Nothing was done for weeks and months. The only thing that was done was school closures. So, as I said, I'm not going to compare, but no flights were cancelled, etc. So just take that as you please. When criticising a country for their action or lack of action, it has to be compared with like-for-like occurrences. and not to what a perfect situation would be. After all of what you've just heard from me, make your own mind up whether the international media slating the Chinese government on their lack of action on this outbreak here is, see if that's a fair judgment or if you're simply a mouthpiece for your government's narrative. Because in my mind, when you look at the objective facts, it gives you a clear perspective on the intentions behind governments wanting to push a specific narrative out to their citizens in order to align with their political agenda and to be in their best interest economically as well. Because money always does the talking, and that is simply just the world we've created nowadays. So that's my message, something to think about. As always, take care, and we will see you in the next video. Bye bye for now.